Back on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Thank you for tuning in today. We go to the phones. Republican strategist Matt Mackowiak joining us this morning. Matt, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Chad. Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing great. Appreciate you joining us. Hey, before we get into some of the politics of the day, I want to talk about a story that you had in the morning newsletter today, and that is Tesla. Negotiating incentives for a possible Texas vehicle assembly plant. This could be quite interesting for the state of Texas and Tesla and the relationship moving forward.
Yeah, and I wrote a column in the Austin American-Statesman maybe a month ago, just kind of detailing Tesla's record on incentives from states and counties and cities. It's a mixed history certainly, but look, I like Tesla as a company. I mean, I think car manufacturing has been ripe for disruption for some time, and as a Texan, I obviously want to see every possible job creator come here. The question is going to be, what the devil's in the details. What are the incentives? How much is it? Is it something that would be available to another manufacturer? This does get into the kind of murky area of picking winners and losers. I recognize that you can't be black or white about it. You can't say no incentives ever under any circumstances, because you're not competing by yourself. You're competing against other states. And so that certainly is an issue. And when you're governor of Texas, you're trying to bring as many jobs to the state while you're governor as possible. So I understand that. So we're going to learn more. Sounds like maybe the county commissioner's court's going to be briefed on the outlines. What I've been hearing is that they're going to put a manufacturing facility in Hutto, just outside of Austin, which I believe is still in Travis County, although I'm actually not positive on that. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Elon Musk is tremendous disruptor. Has had huge success with SpaceX, which just partnered with NASA on the rocket launch, or on the launching astronauts back into space. And Tesla stock is, I want to say, around $1,000, I think, at this point, yeah. and doing very, very well. So I know it's a very popular car to own. People who own them love them. So look, it could be very good for Central Texas.
But
we'll see.
And here's the deal: because you can't buy them in Texas, right?
Right. Yeah. This is something. I realize my view on Tesla may be hard for people to understand. I'm not a huge fan of these kind of subsidies to companies by picking winners and losers. On the other hand, I think it's absurd. I mean, totally ridiculous that state law prevents Tesla from selling in Texas.
Yes.
The law that exists says you have to have maintenance in facilities in the state to sell here, and Tesla doesn't have that. They have showrooms. I know they have one in Austin where you can go see the cars, but if you literally bought one on site, they couldn't give it to you. They have to bring it in from whatever state you can do it in. I don't know if Oklahoma or Louisiana allow it. Some of them I know come from the West Coast. So yeah, it's ridiculous. It's anti-competitive. It's something that the auto dealers all kind of band together and lobby the legislature to not allow Teslas to be sold in the state. It's got nothing to do with whether someone can reasonably expect to find maintenance. It's about trying to prevent Tesla from gaining a foothold in the state as important as Texas.
Yeah, which I think that's failed. I mean, just you see Tesla vehicles everywhere, these days it seems. So I think they're here, and I think they're sticking around for a while.
Yep, indeed they are. I mean, and they're coming out with new models, and they're trying to bring the price down. I actually just the other day went on their site just to see what it looks like to even buy one, and I was intrigued. The idea that you never have to get gas is pretty appealing. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm filling up, once or twice a week. It adds up over time, and of course, when you add maintenance and oil and everything else, it does add up. But I think the cheapest Tesla I could find was like $40,000, and I don't know about you, Chad, but I'm not in the position of my life where I want to spend $40,000 on a vehicle. So until that comes down a little bit more, I don't know that it's going to be an option for us. But I understand why it's appealing to a lot of people. These cars apparently are quiet. They're fast, they're sleek, they have all kinds of kind of new technological advancements that are make it very user friendly, and they look great. So there's a lot about it that's appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. Visiting with Matt Mackowiak here on the Chad Hasty Show. Matt, the president expected to roll out, I think it's an executive order this morning regarding police reforms. I don't know how much we know yet about it, but how important is this for the president right now?
Yeah, we don't know very much yet. It sounds like it's going to have something to do with force kind of de-escalation and how much force police can use in certain situations. Wouldn't surprise me if they chokeholds or ban them in certain situations as well. I'd like to see there be additional, support for training. I mean, if you're concerned that police are using the wrong tactics in the wrong situations, it would seem to me you'd want better training, but you're not really hearing that kind of discussion from Congress that I've seen. And so the other thing to watch will be to see, what accompanies the executive order. I imagine he'll deliver remarks, and of course, when you talk about race issues, it can be risky because the people react differently, different things you say, and if you're not careful, you can certainly make a mess of it. And he's had his own checkered kind of history on race issues, both as president and as a candidate, and even in business. So I hope he, look, I've been hoping he would kind of thread the needle between the need for law and order and the need for real, sensible, common sense reforms to policing. Not defunding the police, not undermining them, not attacking them, certainly. But, we can ban chokeholds. We can require police officers to render aid to someone in need. We can look at reforming or ending selective immunity, in specific situations. Those things, I think, have broad appeal. Whether they're going to be in this executive order, I don't know. And certainly there's legislation up on Capitol Hill that so far has just been offered by Democrats. Republicans are going to put their own bill together. We'll see if they can get a bipartisan consensus bill in the next few weeks.
Matt, and something we've talked about numerous times is a lot's going to change between now and November. There's a story out from the Washington Times. The headline is Donald Trump Black Outreach Threatened by Coronavirus and George Floyd Protest. The president himself, he likes to talk about the black unemployment numbers. He likes to talk about the opportunity zones. He likes to talk about these things where there has been outreach. Do you think that message right now has been diluted?
I do. I mean, I think that's just undeniable. But I'll say this: I don't think that the African American vote is monolithic. Look, it's clear that if you look at the polling, the president's numbers are as weak as they've been. I mean, I know that some of the polling is questionable, and I don't think Biden's up 15% or whatever some of the numbers have said this week. But I do believe Gallup, and Gallup had Trump at 39% job approval last week, lowest number he's had in his presidency in Gallup. And it was 85% support among Republicans, and that's really low. He's usually in the low to mid 90s. So I do think that his response and his handling of the George Floyd situation, while his words have been okay, it's the other stuff. It's the Lafayette Square incident. It's some of the tweets, the fact that he hasn't given a major speech really on these issues. He didn't go to the funeral. He didn't have a very good call with the family. He hadn't done anything on policing reform, at least until today. So I do think that's hurt. Now, I also think that in September, when this election really comes to take shape, things are going to look different, and black voters may look differently. The economy may look better. Coronavirus may be well in hand at that point. It may turn into more of a standard race, and at that point, he's going to be able to say, "Look, Biden passed a crime bill that put a generation of African Americans in prison, while I did opportunity zones and supported HBCUs, and we had the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans for 3 years, et cetera, et cetera." I mean, he can go on and on and on about the things he's actually done, and he can put together an agenda for the next term as well. So, again, they're not talking about trying to win a quarter of the black vote. I think they're talking about trying to go from 8% to 11 or 12%, and that could make the difference in some of these states like Michigan, where you have a large black population, Detroit. So, yeah, I think in the current environment, his support among that group has decreased. It's made it much more difficult, but I also think things are likely to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, tell folks how they can sign up for your morning newsletter that we talked about this morning, and then also how they can tell them about your podcast as well.
Yeah, so all these issues related to 2020 presidential election I covered in my most recent podcast episode with Tim Murtaugh, who's the communications director for Trump's re-election campaign. Great conversation about polls and protests and rallies and the economy and all kinds of things. You can find that podcast, which is called Mac on Politics, in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and on Spotify. The newsletter, which I know you subscribe to and 3,000 Texans subscribe to, is called Must Read Texas. We take all the top news from around the state, put it in one clean, easy-to-read email, and deliver to inboxes by 9 a.m. every weekday morning. You can sign up for a free one-week trial at mustreadtexas.com.
Very good, Matt. Thank you for your time. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care.
That's Matt Mackowiak, Republican strategist here on the Chad Hasty Show.